I was very impressed with the entries this year, both in terms of the quality of thinking, the originality, the consistency of the way the stories were told. Some, of course, stood out more than others, but even the average entries I thought were very passable.
This year's entries were, in my opinion, even better than last year's entries in many, many regards. I think the first and most important piece that I observed was the quality of the insights in many of the case studies submitted, the quality of the idea, and in many, many cases, the execution of that idea was actually better than my expectations. And those expectations were based on some of the entries I'd seen the year before.
I think from my perspective, the overall quality of entries has certainly dipped a wee bit. If I compare all the entries to the entries that I've seen over the last 2, 3, 4 years, I would say the overall quality, the overall average has dipped. Having said that, there were a few that were brilliant. On the other hand, there were a few that were quite bad. But like I said, the average that sat in the middle, I think that quality has dropped a bit. And if I can give you, like a personal example, there was a campaign that I worked on in 2011 that won the inaugural, Black Lion for Creative Effectiveness at Cannes. And when we entered that campaign at Warc, we didn't make it in the top 5. What I'm trying to say is the competition then was so severe that even a campaign that won for creative effectiveness at Cannes didn't make it to the top 5 of Warc. This year I felt it has dipped a bit. I mean, like I said, there were a few that were brilliant, but by and large I think the overall average has dropped quite a bit.
In terms of recurring themes, one of the themes that came out a lot for me was the use of new media channels. I really liked some of those ideas, I mean, I love and hate them. I love the thinking, I hate the fact that I didn't have those ideas myself. 2 of them come to mind in particular, one from India, which was a callback radio channel, which I thought was absolute genius. And another idea that came through was from the Philippines, which was about taking bandwidth that nobody uses and turning it into a channel for babies. Both of those took something that exists that we just don't notice and turned them into something highly valuable and original.
I think that the sense that I got from the cases that I read, maybe the 20, 30 odd cases that I read, I felt that people are not going back to the basics. The basics of what's the strategy, what's the idea, what's the execution, what's the result, what was the objective that led you to that result, what was the objective that led you to do something that got you to that result. I think some ways we are getting a bit enamored by this whole digital explosion and so many million likes and so many million billions of digital impressions and stuff like that. I think somewhere maybe we're getting lost in all that, and I think for me it's it's the unexpected view of the obvious. When you read a paper, it just strikes you as shit. It seems a bit obvious, but there is that double take. It's a bit unexpected. For me, some of that was missing. Again, like I say, going back to the basics, what was really at the core of why you did what you did and how you did.